Hello and welcome to this week's Old School Q&A live stream. I'm your host Mod Gambit and I'm joined this week by Mods Bruno.
Hello.
Mod Lenny.
Hello.
Mod Wolf.
Hello.
And Mod Ash.
Hello.
And on the chat we have Mod Husky.
Yeah.
I don't have any... well, I'll start off with some announcements. But before we get into those even, how good was the first week of Song of the Elves?
Yeah, it was great.
Right.
I love seeing the community reaction to it. It's been a long 6 months and very good to see how well it was sort of appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's gone very well. I was only able to get the stats that we can use with the potato, you know, those ones. I know there are some things you guys want to hear, things like how much money has been sunk on those crowns, how many implings have been caught, that kind of thing. Oh, are we...
Who's Mike?
Have we
Who's
got
not done airplane mode?
I'm on airplane
Oh, there we go. We found him.
mode. Oh, culprit on the
That
end
was
there.
one. I checked mine. I was like, I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, I'm good.
It's been a while.
Okay, hopefully the bzz will stop in chat in a second. Let us know if it's still a problem, guys. Okay, so we have got some stats for you. There are slightly more niche and interesting ones that we want to give later down the line, possibly in a news post once we've got our data guys, well, tracking them and reporting them to us. But in the meantime, we can tell you that... Oh, I think I've forgotten to put how many people have actually completed. No, I've got it. I know.
It's all roller coaster on this one.
As of about 2 hours ago, 36,358 of you have completed Song of the Elves. So well done. If you haven't yet joined one of those, if you're not yet one of those people,
Yeah, don't worry. Slayer Music's got a guide out now. So
there is a guide out.
there we go.
57,000 enhanced crystal chests have been opened.
That's a lot.
265,000 laps of the agility course have been run. Zorcano has been defeated 185,000 times. And
What's Olcano?
Zorcano's almost got her own back and defeated 106,000 players.
That's a lot.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I think it's still in the day one report post that we launched on Friday. The original, like the stats after 24 hours or so, and Zorcano had more kills than the players did on her. So,
Yeah, the team of us were quite amused when we kind of like went to get you those stats and looked like,
Is that
was Zorcano's actually winning.
yeah, the KD has now flipped, so hopefully that gap will increase.
We should do KDRs for the next time we do like a raiding dungeon. Like, remember how Theatre of Blood was on launch?
Yes.
Where by quite late on the first day, like so many thousand deaths. I put out a tweet showing the Grim Reaper standing outside complaining about the workload. But it would have been quite an interesting statistic to show against finally when people start defeating it and then making that a regular thing.
Leech says that he loves grinding his pestle and mortar at Zolcano, but not for long. With one of the updates coming this week to stop that, hopefully.
Pestle and Mortar Panic Cell.
Other stats on the Gauntlet, so that's been beaten just under 250,000 times, maybe 250,000 by now. Players have died in it 235,000 times. In the corrupted version, that's only been beaten 16,200 times. And players have fallen in that corrupted version 92,700 times. So
The Hunleth is hunted.
lots of getting good left to do. The best times for each of those, so the standard gauntlet has been beaten in 3 minutes and 53 seconds, which is absolutely crazy. I don't know what the prep time was on that, but it must have been, well, very low.
I believe that was actually a higher prep time than the same
kill.
player's previous record, and they just
really?
got an incredibly lucky kill.
Wow.
Did they? Is it worth pointing out maybe what's happening with our competition for the Gauntlet?
Yes, so I'm going to move on to that in a sec. So the best corrupted time as it stands, unless it's been beaten in the last hour or so, is 5 minutes and 35 seconds, which is, well, just incredible. I don't think we ever predicted times like that while it was being designed. So yeah, on the topic of the competition, I believe we have a... Actually, before we go to the slide, can we discuss some changes that we're making to the Gauntlet first?
Yes, so sort of one of the big complaints that we've had with the Gauntlet has been that it feels very RNG focused when you're actually facing the Hunleth. and you can just sort of be hit 20, 20, 30, 20, and you're done. And there's sort of no way to combat that. That's the hits that it might be getting on you through prayer. So with this week's update, we are going to be reducing the amount of damage that you'll take while praying the correct prayer, but in turn increasing the amount of damage taken when you're not praying the correct prayer. At the same time, because in that case, you walk in, you might not be praying the correct prayer. That sounds a little unfair if we're upping the damage even more. So we're making it consistent. You'll always find that the Crystal Hunliff starts attacking with range when you first enter. And other than that, yeah, the attacks should feel sort of a bit more balanced, sort of reward the players who have got their prayer flicks correct and punish players who don't.
How excited people are. Look at that. You just finished testing that, haven't you, actually?
Yeah.
In RC, I think so.
Yep. So it's a lot more fairer now. Obviously, if you haven't got the right prayer on, then you're going to get smacked quite a bit, but...
It's not
that's
ketchup,
expected.
it's Coke. It's Coca-Cola. It's Gusto Naturally Slim Cola bursting with botanicals. It's delicious, but it's not ketchup.
Is this some kind of like product placement here? A little bit of sponsorship going on?
Song of the Elves, sponsored by Gusto, bursting with botanicals. No, it's just a delicious drink that was inside of our fridge. Use the code Song of the Elves. I'm kidding.
Dragging this back to the gauntlet then. So some of you guys have fairly and very reasonably pointed out that changing the core mechanic of the gauntlet halfway through a competition for the fastest time will affect the competition. So if you haven't seen already, this was tweeted on @OldSchoolRS from the official Twitter account. If we can bring this up, we have a slide here explaining what's going to happen. Rather than just giving away one chair then for the person who beats the standard gauntlet in the fastest time, we're now going to give away 4 chairs.
4.
4 whole GT
I don't know where we're
Omega
finding all these
custom
chairs.
old school branded chairs. So yeah, that will be 1 for the player with the fastest normal gauntlet before the change, 1 after, and then same for Corrupted as well, just so that no one's been hard done by the change, after it happens. We've also added the stipulation whereby if the same player happens to be the best in all 4 of those categories, they won't be getting 4 chairs. What we're going to do is then delegate to the next person along.
How is Wook's going to kit out his land?
Exactly. I remember last stream specifically saying Wooks is going to have his full house kitted out with these things. Not anymore. We will announce him, whoever, if there is multiple people who might beat all of those scenarios. We'll announce them and then we'll give it to the people who were beforehand. It's like second place and we'll mention it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Cool, so that's the situation. We'll leave the details up there for a little bit, but yeah, if you need them, they're on the old school Twitter account. On the topic of the gauntlet, I put in this slideshow. Let me grab the clicker.
Oh, clicker.
Clicker. It's only for 2 slides though.
The production value.
I included a bit of artwork of the gauntlets. Oh wait, no, that's here. That's this one.
What was that?
Really good.
I'm trying to remember the name of the user who. Oh, I feel very bad now. It's Iron.
Did you not write it down?
No, I didn't.
Amateur.
I meant to write it down. We'll credit them later. I think it's Irono or Ironco, something along those lines. I feel bad for them. We'll give them a tweet or a shout out later.
It looks so good.
I think it looks incredible. Really
Well
nice
done,
rendition
whoever
of
you
the Hunliff there. Yeah, I just wanted to include that. And then we also have this picture which I leaked not even 20 seconds ago of someone celebrating. I think they got 85 mining and wanted to draw this. I think their username was Draxor, which I'm more confident.
Oh, that's cute.
If I've said that wrong again, I apologise. But yeah, I thought this was a really nice.
You know what you don't see
Nice
enough
picture.
of? Actual drawing. Like, I know it sounds really dumb.
hand
but like
drawing, you
hand,
mean.
because we're in an era now where so many people just use like the sketch pads, which looks great. Like, don't get me wrong, really good artwork, like the one that we just saw. But there's just always something nice about seeing a pencil drawing every now and then.
That's true. Yeah. No, I really like this. Wanted to include it. Don't be mean in chat, guys. It's not. I hate they're calling it weeby. I like it a
It
lot.
does look a lot like the emote.
Oh yeah, okay. I see what they're getting at there.
I'm seeing the
that's fair enough.
resemblance.
But yeah, no, I thought this was really nice. Cool. So if we can, I think that's everything I wanted to show.
Sudden flash of a Hunliff there.
So we've got some Song of the Elves questions that you guys have raised. I think we should blast through those, and then maybe we can cover the changes. I don't remember them all off the top of my head. Maybe you do.
For Song of the Elves? Well, there was 75 jobs
all 75
this week to sign off, so I don't think we'll remember them all.
Possibly the main ones.
Some highlights, if you want me to mention now.
Yeah, okay, let's do
we
it.
have a world map now at the Grand Library, which should help people who are trying to navigate themselves around there. We have the ability to get multiple locator orbs after Dragon Slayer 2 to help yourself deal more damage to yourself for things like Darox and Nightmare Zone. I was trying to make sure I worded that in a very professional
I was wondering
way.
what you were going to say there.
What else did we do? We did it so much.
The Chaos Elemental respawn is getting a lot faster.
It's a minute and a half now, isn't it? Oh, 60 seconds.
Yeah, 60,
Yes,
I
we
think.
put it to 60 actually, so it's really quick compared to what it currently is.
And what was another thing? Oh yeah, right-click quick entry on Volcanic Mine. The main focus of the update is the Song of the Elves adjustments and the feedback changes there. But the rest of the stuff from Pole 68, a lot's been working on. Maz, me, Mod Tide. Special thanks to Mod Tide for helping with the Anvil job. Those are all going through development. And
Fletching animations.
oh,
They're
yeah.
finally coming from like February's Quality of Life poll. Sorry, it just came to me. I was like, I tweeted something and I can't remember what I tweeted. And it was fletching animations for bolt tips and darts and all kinds of handheld stuff. It doesn't affect your ability to run around while doing it or the speed at which you can do it, but it has an animation now. Gosh, there we go, brain fart.
Yeah, that one got a little bit held up because after the first draft it was made in February when it was polled, we weren't entirely keen on the design and had some back and forth around the team about how it could look. And then the artists were a little bit busy with their hands full of crystal stuff. So they've now been able to finish off the job and fix the outstanding issues. And we're very pleased to be able to close that one off as promised. There are some things from older polls still to go though. The one I showed on my Twitter a while back for tinted hit splats to show which ones are you and which ones are other people. Now the elves are out of the way, I hope to be able to get back to finishing that one in the coming weeks because, well, they asked if I'd not do it before the Elf Quest went out because I rewrote enough that much of combat and then they had to integrate it with the Elf Quest. That would have kind of hit the release date of the Elf Quest, I'm thinking. So they've gone first. I will hopefully be able to merge their work with mine and finish off in the coming weeks.
I mean, quantity buttons for the smithing interface is hopefully coming out next week as well.
Oh, that'd be good.
Which is going to be awesome.
Silver crafting we've revisited because we felt that the way it was showing info on that screen was, well, kind of inconsistent with some other ones and not very good for the usability. And also the text could have been a little clearer. It wasn't using drop showers and the like. So we've done a little more polish on that one. But the focus of it is like the anvils. There's quantity buttons to choose how many you want. Defaults to all, but if you've just used it for the same thing, it will try and remember what you chose last time. And then you just one left click on the item to start yourself making it.
And then when it comes to Song of the Elves, large stuff coming this week, obviously we've already spoken about removal of the 1.5 tick method.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. We're pretty confident. The Zolcano change, the Gauntlet changes, and then there's a plethora of other tweaking changes that are going on.
Perhaps you could talk to us about Zolcano.
Yeah, so with Zolcano, sort of, I think the biggest concern we've had within the community, apart from perhaps the 1.5 tick mining, is the way that the drop system works and the sort of MVP mechanic within it. So with this week's update, as opposed to just having a single MVP who will sort of receive an improved drop table, as well as other players who will even receive a lesser drop table with a slight chance of the improved drop table. You'll now have you'll still have an MVP in the sense of they get an extra drop. It just won't be quite as significantly better, and every person who's contributed towards the kill will have a role on the main drop table, which will now sort of scale the chances of the uniques based on their contribution and scale the quantities of items that they might receive as well based on their contribution.
So it still rewards them more for putting in more effort, but it doesn't give it just all to one person and leave the rest in the dust.
So I think there should sort of be a less noticeable gap between the MVP and the rest of the people, but there's still definitely a big incentive to put in as much effort and contribute as much towards the kill as you can.
Does that include the pet?
That does now include the pet, yes.
There we go.
Whereas previously only the MVP could get the pet.
So, yes, keep in mind, it's not even been a week since Song of the Elves release. So we are still keeping an eye on stuff, of course. We're listening, don't worry about it. We're on a roll. These guys are on a roll in particular, these Song of the Elves guys. So, keep up. Keep giving us 70 jobs a week. That feels great, man.
We'll try.
It's so good, man.
All right, I'm going to move on to some other Song of the Elves questions then while we're on the topic. Are you able to explain the Crystal Shield situation? I saw a few players talking about this whereby the charge depletion was changed. Can you maybe give some more insight into that?
Yeah, so previously, as a lot of people are aware, Crystal Shields only degraded when you actually took some damage with it equipped as opposed to being hit to 0 against you. When Crystal Armor was first implemented, it was implemented to also degrade when a 0 was hit against you, which we are changing along with the Crystal Shield now. And as it happened, when another developer was addressing the Crystal Shield changes, they happened to plug the degradation in at the same place as the Crystal Armor. So it started degrading when you got hit a 0 against you. That's basically been changed back with this update, and the rest of the Crystal Armor has been changed to match it.
I think it must be intentional because there was a comment in the code saying do this regardless of whether they took damage. Are you saying it wasn't?
It was intended for the armor to start with, and then it just happened that another developer saw the armor was degrading there, thought they'd put the shield along with it, which wasn't quite how it was before.
Moss Giants becoming re-aggressive.
Yeah.
And a waterfall quest.
And
Sorry.
more dead things in
That was an
there.
accident. There's more dead things back in there. They're all back.
Yes.
Yes, we are listening.
Very sorry about that.
Yeah. It's a big update, so we were keeping our eye on it pretty closely for a while.
The bells, which are located on the second floor of Pryffinus,
Right.
all make a unique tone when rung. Is there something hidden here, or am I just running around ringing bells like a choir boy for no reason?
I mean, whether there's no reason to it, I'm going to leave up to you. I don't really want to say too much there. I kind of want to just leave that one hanging.
I was really hoping you'd give a hint, but in a really cool way.
I don't know.
If you can get the code just right, the big Mama Molinisk turns up, right? No?
Maybe something like that.
Am I right in remembering that was that your idea, the bells in Pryffinus?
That actually came from somebody elsewhere in the company who I believe worked on RuneScape's version of Pryffinus.
Okay.
And it was, or the bells, not necessarily everything that goes along with them, was something that they wanted to do and just never got around to.
Right.
Bells.
We just kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Some players would like a special attack for the Blade of Saildor to be repoled. They reckon it's because it's such a high maintenance weapon, it could do with something maybe a little bit extra maintenance in terms of like the crystals that you require to keep it charged.
It's a bit high maintenance, a bit extra. Love the words you use for it. Yes, it is a charge weapon compared to the other tiers of similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't necessarily think that having a weapon of that level also having a special attack seems right, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
It seemed to be the opinion when we polled a special attack that the weapon was powerful
strong
enough without it,
Exactly.
and obviously it may be that a different special attack would have passed a poll.
I wonder if it was the special attack options that we offered rather than the special attack idea itself. You know, that's the only thing, because I personally wasn't maybe all that keen on the ones that we offered.
It doesn't sound like a special attack weapon in my head.
Yeah.
But what it does, if there was ever a potential for something like that, I'd suggest going more along the lines of like the scythe, in terms of because it's got charges and it breaks on overuse, it has a passive effect. But even then, is it strong enough already as a one-handed tier? Is it 75, 80? 75, right?
Laserman367 suggests that we give it a bad spec. I suppose that's a way of not changing it very much, but giving it a spec.
Yeah, it's got the whip special attack.
Everyone wants
Everybody wants that.
A lot of weapons, they're either actual weapons to use or special attack weapons. Like, you don't get a very high tier weapon with a good special attack. You always get the meh tiered weapons with the special attacks, like claws, dragon warhammers. You never use them to actually kill things with, but that's what they're for. So I don't think you should have a good special attack and a good weapon in one thing, because at that point it might make it the best weapon ever. So you never really want to use any other weapon. So
makes sense.
Mod Bruno, voice of the people. Right there. Yeah. I agree. I concur. 2020.
We've been asked to improve the click boxes on the Prifdnis agility course. They say that the rope is blocked by a tree for plenty of the course, and adjusting camera angles is annoying. Otherwise, we love the course. Good job.
It has been suggested that we make the tree non-clickable, that one tree.
That could definitely help with the situation, yeah. I don't know.
Thanks to whoever sent me that.
Yeah, that's definitely a good suggestion. I'm not entirely sure about increasing the size of the click box. I don't think they're necessarily too small. I think it might more be the fact that
just the trees are
in the way.
Right. So it sounds like we would do something like that then.
I believe we can look at doing it, yeah.
Cool. Would an update to the gauntlet with additional levels and difficulties be possible in the future? The current 2 levels are great, but the idea behind the minigame deserves expanding upon.
Well, we've got a blue one, we've got a red one, so purple coming up.
Don't say purple, they won't like that.
So tired of purple.
Purple and grey is the theme.
I mean...
And red. In fact, we chose red. I'm bored of red as well. We do red and purple all the time. Next update, we're gonna have a pink map or a blue. But we did task our colours blue though, didn't we? We've done blue as well. We're running out of colours on the spectrum.
Mustard.
A yellow cave seems a bit weird.
Yes.
But with the way that it's been developed, I believe adding sort of new difficulties to it shouldn't be an overly difficult thing to do. It would depend on exactly how we wanted to go about it and sort of what those difficulties might be. If it was more about sort of expanding the dungeon generation system to be used for other things, that's a bigger job, but there's potential there, yeah.
But now that you've developed a system whereby we can randomly generate rooms in that way, that's potentially really useful for future quests and other content, right?
Yeah, so in sort of its current state, it's not immediately adaptable to be used for other dungeons, just sort of however you'd like, but there's sort of a few suggestions that I've got all nicely written up, all documented, and sort of if we want to look at expanding it in the future, there are definite ways that we could go about it.
Or if we were to use it as Slamanto is suggesting as a third raiding dungeon under Menethos, that is a kind of sandy area, so we could justify it being yellow.
Yeah, yellow dungeon sorted.
Done.
Could a spectator mode be added to the gauntlet?
I don't know how well that would work in contrast to sort of the spectator mode on Theatre of Blood, because you've got how big is it? About 128 tiles in every direction. That's a lot of space to run around. You might be far away from the person you're trying to watch. It just doesn't sound like an ideal environment to try and spectate in.
Fair enough. Could a temporary storage mechanic similar to the one in the gauntlet be added to more mini games such as Last Man Standing? So this is the one that was really useful for UIMs in particular, but also just general players.
Yeah, there's a job in the Last Man Standing full launch to see if we can make one of those for
Yeah, Modrock came and spoke to me about it a week or two ago, and I was sort of walking through it, and there's a couple of minor changes that would need to be made to it, mostly just concerning what items get removed from you and things like that. Because
I like this. Does that mean he's implementing it for me?
Maybe, who knows?
Awesome.
But yeah, it shouldn't be too much work to tweak that to be used in other places.
Did you knocked it out of the park with this update. I mean, your entire team did, but just a little shout out to Model Any, because I think that like the random generation of the gauntlet, on top of the fact that you added a system to be that helpful for Ultimate Iron Man, like as a game mode, is insanely good.
I mean, as it happens, when I was first asked to make that system, I did not want to do it. I was asked to make a system to hold people's items like this, and I thought, this sounds like it's asking for trouble. But it seems to have worked out all right.
The equipping side effect code is pretty modular, and you're running all the right stuff to avoid forcibly unequipping things you shouldn't. We should be fine.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
So far.
In layman's terms, how does that work then? Do the items go somewhere else?
Don't tell him. That's how bugs happen. If they know how it works, that's how it...
Okay.
Magic. The Dark Altar is this.
When the elf asks you how many seeds you would like,
Let's not ask about how many seeds we'd like.
They don't need to know about that.
All right. I'll just assume the NPC has massive pockets, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
And a labelling
Brian
system.
just holds on to them for you whilst you're like doing the gauntlet. Nice guy.
Good go, Bryn.
Could we get the empty farm patch in Letia filled with something? It'd be nice if it weren't an empty brown patch both before and after Song of the Elves.
I'm guessing that's the patch that's used to grow the...
Valentine,
Yeah.
It could, but recently people have complained quite a lot because we're recently adding a lot of patches. So we had the Farming Guild, that came with more patches. We had... Yeah.
I think maybe...
I don't think they want it to be a farming
Rather than a farming patch.
They want to look pretty.
yeah, like maybe the elf gardener could just grow flowers in it for herself or something.
Sort of, yeah.
Sure.
I imagine that should be perfectly doable, yeah.
Cool. And the last one we have here on Song of the Elves specifically is the only elven item that crystal implings have on their table is the elven signet. Could this be expanded to include other elven items such as the infinite teleport crystal?
The infinite teleport crystal, I believe that we're keen on keeping just on sort of the pickpocketable and killable elves. I mean, I suppose it depends on what else you might consider an elven item.
Is the infinite teleport tradable?
The seed that you use to create it is.
Is the impling, are the implings tradable as well?
The implings, no.
They're like lucky implings.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, I was just wondering.
Okay.
Zudu would suggest we add the twisted bush to that unused patch.
I like where it currently is, thank you very much. I was quite proud of that positioning.
Okay, so we probably wouldn't look to move that there. All right.
Probably not, no.
If you guys have other suggestions for that table, maybe we'd be open to adding them to it. All right then, well that covers it for Song of the Elves. I'll move on to the more standard questions then. With the game now featuring Venenatis and Serachnis as spider bosses, as well as temple spiders offering a burstable alternative, would you consider adding a Slayer point unlock to higher level Slayer Masters for spider tasks?
Did you put this question in?
No, this is not a Husky-inspired question. I promise.
All jokes aside, we did actually consider doing that when we originally were writing, when we were going back and forth on the Slayer creatures that were being added in for the Sidious dungeon. Myself and Mod Husky were, because originally it was put in the blog as they were going to be individual Slayer creatures anyway.
Right.
But then we realised they're not the best creatures on their own, truthfully, except from the temple spiders. Which are obviously burstable and drop red spider eggs, which is great. But then we were like, we can't just add a overall arching, spiders to high level things unless people want it. So if you guys want it, yeah, we can definitely do that.
That's not what we get around that.
Yeah.
Should we straw poll it to find out?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we were going to do it until we realised we can't just do that without polling and
Well, maybe we can make the question then. Would you like higher level Slayer Masters to offer spider tasks? That capture the...
Is that as an optional unlock?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, unlock only. Specify. That's the important part, specify.
It would also be quite a fast task if you were to just go to Lumbridge and kill the spiders, so it pleases both people who like quick points and actual spider tasks.
And then we're going to make like a giant spider pen with just level 2 spiders to
You already have that. You already have that. If you go to the Stronghold security, there's literally a small room full of like level 2 spiders.
That sounds painful. I don't just mean to be in, I mean like to click on them.
Usually you let the cannon do the work.
Oh yeah, stronghold.
While that straw poll runs then, I'll
Expensive.
move on to the next question. Have you guys had any thoughts on writing a Void Knight questline? They're an interesting faction that most players interact with at some point. But for example, we have seen the outpost without knowing if there's a Void Knight base of operations.
I don't know if anyone on the team has had any particular thoughts about it. I think the one concern that I'd have with it is that players would probably expect Karasi.
They can have Karasi, the woman, not the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just think it's not the most It wasn't my favourite quest line ever.
I quite enjoyed it
It
personally.
was okay.
I enjoyed it.
It was
But-
my favourite.
But I sometimes ask myself, did I enjoy it? Like, because it was okay. I did them and they were fun. It was a good story. But did I enjoy it because it was just released all in like a matter of a year? So I managed to enjoy the story in one very quick loop, so I could recognise that, or did I enjoy it because it was actually as good as the elf storyline or the dwarf storyline? And I think the answer, truthfully, is because it was released in a year, so I got the full story arc in one go. Truthfully, that's just my opinion. And if that's the case, we can do that with another storyline instead. If it's actually because the Void Knight is an interesting storyline for people, we could potentially do that.
It could be quite engaging in places. I mean, where you were playing as Karasi, going through her memories and trying to retrieve them, the audio team did a lovely sort of backward sound remix of the Pest Control tune, and I found it really quite exciting to play. When you're running around with a waxwood box, I found that less so. But the series ended well, so yeah, I could see there being an appeal for it. But we wouldn't be recreating RS3's quest, we'd be writing something old school.
I quite like the idea, especially to have a faction that's so strongly Gathixian in their alignment. Could be nice to explore that as well. Get some of those themes in there as well.
And your interest isn't just that it kind of led to a game that looks a bit like chess, then, because you are known...
I did like that game.
I like Conquest. It's really good. I love a good turn-based
Conquest
system.
was how I got my first set of Void.
It's how I
remember it being very powerful as well when it first came out. The XP rewards
It
were
was
like
a lot stronger
very strong
than doing it properly. It was really fun.
But yeah, also a really great minigame.
This is the only problem is this is why we can't have nice things, because people were just abusing it and like selling wins.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
it was like, but it was a really good minigame. I enjoyed it. Can you click? Can you? Thanks.
Okay. Would you consider consider adjusting the XP and fail chance of the various pickpocketing targets at 75 thieving and above? This would offer a change in scenery for those that choose to train that way. I mean, it is the case that RD Knight's sort of the way until 99, right? And there's a lot of ones that just don't get used.
Although, isn't the point of those sort of higher level pickpocketable NPCs more the loot that you get from them?
But did they really fill that
Do they
niche
get-
as well?
do they
That's
get
the
used for
problem.
I mean, if you think of like mining, I don't think many people try and do runite mining to 99. It's not expected that
Chris, can you make
the rocks unlock to that level.
Because we.
Yeah, it's kind of not expected that the rocks that you unlock at high level mining will be used to train to 99.
Yeah.
They're kind of there because they're good rocks to mine.
It's so ridiculously hard to pickpocket those creatures as well. Like their fail rates are really high.
Yeah.
And to put things before, because dwarf traders are a viable training method now in RuneScape, I think. And there were a few years ago, but it took them adding in an aura that increased like 15% chance of pickpocketing and a spell which decreases the chance of pickpocketing failure by 40%, and another, I think it was like quest completion of like their thieving guild, like all these things to make it so that it was even viable to do,
Right.
because it's such a low chance of succeeding. I'm kind of inclined to say I agree. I think maybe if we were to go anywhere, it would be maybe to buff what they drop. But even then, do people want that? But yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like we might even be in favour of doing this then, even if not to just spread people around while training thieving, rather than have them all in Ardoin Bank.
Have we been getting people dressing up as Ardoin Knights and trying to confuse them?
That's excellent. I hadn't thought about that now that we've got the armour.
It feels like we should. Off you go.
I'm waiting for the Torvesta PvP
Yeah,
world
yeah.
video.
So it sounds like a
They
good
thought
video
I was an
idea.
RD Knight, but little did they know.
I've got D claws.
So the straw poll is in. We asked you guys if you would like higher level Slayer Masters to offer Spider Slayer tasks as an optional unlock. And 82% of you voted in favour, so well above the pass rate. You can expect that in game. I'm joking, but maybe an idea for us to explore then. Our next question is: can we get an indicator to show when we're in an instanced area? This would be similar to the I'm in a multi-zone indicator.
Yes.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, usually you'll get a warning, right, that says, "Oh, you're at risk of losing your items if you do this thing."
Don't.
But some, yeah.
I'd expect
Don't
it
give
to have
that.
a toggle because not everyone's going to want one of those things flashing on their screen.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is
It
definitely
wouldn't flash, by the way.
a good
But
suggestion.
Okay.
Because the biggest problem with all the quests is that they don't have the warnings that we put in now. Because we always put warnings in, because people are aware that if they're dying instances, they might lose stuff, and we might not have put a grave system in.
Right.
So it's I
Okay.
love that idea. That's really good.
Cool. Will we get more content to earn relevant untradeable gear through a minigame or skill? Getting a 1 bill drop from raids is obviously exciting, but I like the idea of working towards gear in a way that doesn't rely on camping Vorkath or getting lucky with a super rare drop. So I suppose they have things like Void and Defenders in mind when they ask this question.
we went too far the other way on that one a long time ago with Polypore, that dungeon. The base thing was just bought from the shop for a few hundred coins, but then you spent a long time grinding to get the flakes you put on it, and that made the armour. And the feeling there was that it wasn't exciting because you were getting things at a fairly predictable rate on average, and you knew to keep grinding you'd get there. And apparently it made the place feel really boring. So I agree with where they're going, but apparently one can overdo it.
That's fair. I mean, obviously you've got good untradables like the torso and whatnot, but I'd be hesitant to introduce a new one that's best in slot for sure.
I think we've got a good balance of things like Infernal Cape, Vernic Defenders, which you can buy.
Yeah.
I don't think the balance is too bad. We could do with more untradeable best in slot rewards, but you also don't want to make it so that literally anyone without much effort can just get the item, aside from like doing a quest or grinding a minigame.
On the boss asks what the difference is between Polypore and Zora scales. Well, we kept the fairly rare fang drops that you have to stick it on as part of that to keep it fairly exciting. And if that's not enough, mutagens. Which you can alk, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the design of. I always like whenever we release something that has charges that come back from the place of the thing it's dropped. Great design philosophy to have it so that it just that thing will now never die if that item is relevant. That's always something you have to go back to and it's worth money. But then sometimes I think the fact that with Polypore in particular had 3 different tiers, that might not have helped as much. But
Well, the balancing on those was not done quite as intended. Among other things, the guy who was doing the calculations was under the impression that it would last for 8 hours, and he calculated everything else around that. And only after launch did he become aware that that is not true.
Right, moving on. Would it be possible for the collection log to record the number of specific random events that you've encountered or interacted with?
Why the collection log?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but
But why the collection log?
yeah.
It's the question I have. Where else would we put it otherwise, I guess, is
There's a
the
counters
thing.
page on your player own house.
The adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the big book in your house.
Okay.
It is the term weird flex was made for this.
Yeah.
This is a weird flex.
Weird-
Like, how
weird
many
ass.
random events have you gotten? It's like,
Okay.
Now, maybe if it counts how many genie lamps they're given.
that's true. We could specify like per random event so you can see how many genies and stuff. That's better than just overall.
Oh yeah, no, I think maybe I didn't read it or write it down very well, but yeah, I think it was per event. that they
Okay.
want,
Makes a little bit more sense.
yeah, well, not just a KC for general random events.
The answer is yes, it can be done, but probably not on the collection log.
If only it was put out a year ago, so Swan players could have the weirdest.
I know.
Yeah. Opportunity missed, but maybe we can do that then. Okay, our next question says, in Fallout, the game, the train you ride is technically an NPC wearing a giant train for a hat.
Really?
Do you have any examples of clever technical workarounds that you had to do to get something working in old school?
Where do you begin?
I think the one that most reminds me of is just not a specific example, just a general idea that NPCs are a lot more difficult to make do exactly what you want in a cutscene.
So
The player's nice and flexible.
yeah.
So you'll often notice that the player goes out of sight, and all of a sudden, this NPC is in sight. They do something complicated and intricate, and then go out of sight, and the player's back.
Yeah.
Never seen them in the same room together.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed with.
Have you been using
Song
that
of-
lately?
I haven't personally. I nearly did.
I noticed with Song of the Elves, because once that you know that trick, once that you know that we turn the character into an NPC so that they can do things, you'll notice it in the Song of I noticed this when I was testing it. In Song of the Elves, the cannon part where they're fighting and defending the barrier, spoiler alert, you're defending the barrier, there's a little cutscene where you see all these elves charge in, but you'll notice that all the elves walk in, and there's one that's sprinting, and that's the player character transformed into an elf. That's the only elf that's running into battle, and that's you. And the rest of them are like, I think they do the run animation, but they're running really slowly, like kind of like a Matrix style thing, because they can't actually run.
Sounds like a Benny Hill thing for anyone who remembers. Anyway,
That makes the pestilent bloat come to mind for one of these examples. Then
That's different. That's witchcraft. Pure witchcraft.
so what he's doing is he's going along a fixed path, and he doesn't have to be very flexible about it. So he can be teleported 2 tiles per server tick, and he's given a war cannon that looks reasonably all right for that.
right.
But you can't interact with him very much when he's doing it. Fortunately, you don't want to in the case of him in that kind of way. But for certainly, I think Swan Song was the first quest to use the trick you're describing. When I wanted the wise old man to sort of skid round the back of a troll abruptly and then jump into it, do a kick and fall backwards in the middle of the kick, that is not something an NPC can conventionally do.
There was one of my favourite ones of yours is the making an NPC a Prod-Janim.
Oh yes.
So, when you made my arm a Prod-Janim so that you could sprint across the screen. So instead of it being an NPC, that was
yes.
pretty good.
Which also means that if you're hanging around the north end of Brimhaven and you suddenly see a sort of greenish creature in a hat hoof it straight past you out of nowhere.
So literally,
That is my arm, that is.
in that scene, the equivalency is when you shoot a bow, the thing that flies is a projectile animation where it's irrelevant of other like geometry around it. And so he's made it so my arm in that quest is essentially an arrow being flung at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. It looks good. It works.
Doesn't quite render with the ground all right, but we got away with it from most angles. There's in the Easter 2015 event, for those who remember, there was a chocolate demon, what you run into, which keeps freezing you and then teleporting itself across the room, and it looks like it's sort of leaping rather than teleporting, like vanish and reappear somewhere else. And it itself is just turning itself into a projectile, firing itself across the room and respawning at the other end as an NPC again.
Nice.
I like that trick. It covers a surprising amount of stuff. You can't do it with big things, by the way, which is a problem for some of the RS3 content people have asked us to recreate. But you can do it with small ones.
There was something with the Halloween event that became a permanent quest as well, with the projectile of the knives that we had to do in a cheat. I can't remember what we did.
I can't either.
That one's going to kill me, but Mod Tom H did a good job on that one.
Yes. Shiner Rock would like to know when the Tithe Farm Left Click Water's coming out. That one's gone for testing as well. I expect we'll see it in... Is it next week?
I don't want to say next week, but it is tested and done, so it's within the next 1 to 3 weeks, I would say.
Might even be early August.
Exciting. I'll move on to our next question then, which is, could ingredients/costs be added to the magic, crafting, fletching skill guides like they currently exist in the cooking, smithing and herb lore, or as a right-click option like in the construction skill guide?
Like where you left click on it and it spouts it out.
Right.
Ash, can it be done?
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Dad!
Somebody reboot me.
Reboot Ash. There we go.
Gambit, speak. What is it?
Yes, so the player would like to know if ingredients or costs could be added to the magic, crafting and fletching skill guides like they exist in the cooking, smithing and herb lore skill guides, or as a right-click option like in construction.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, sorted. Just had to crank the handle.
Yeah.
Successfully rebooted. Could we designate a world as a social agility world? It's much more fun when there are people to race. Agility themed world?
Could do.
We're not short of blank
sure.
ones.
Yeah.
Depends on which course you're doing. You already sort of do have an unofficial world. Like if you want to do the Yardy course, just go to 2K Total World and everyone's doing it there. That's all they want to do in the.
But what if you're one of those like level 3 skillers of 90 agility?
Then try harder because you can still get 2K Total.
What if they're
Can
like
you?
a really, really
You
weird
cannot.
build? Like an artisan only level 3.
Well,
Support skill only.
Yeah, level 3 can't
I
reach
am
2k, can it?
Level 3 can. Level 3 skiller, yeah.
No, because
Can they can just about make it?
maths is 2277, right?
No.
they can't. I just realised they can't.
Okay, yeah, you're right. No, they can't.
10 hit
1,
points
2,
could,
3, yeah.
level 3 couldn't.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of those times
Wait, 10
where,
hit points is level 3.
not always.
What?
Yeah, because you can have like 99 magic, but 10 hit points.
Do people make builds where they have the prayer and the magic
Yeah.
and not?
And range
Probably
even
do.
with cannons.
Like, they probably do.
Why? Just max.
I don't know.
Just max forehead.
Just max.
They're a snowflake.
Okay.
To answer the question, yeah, we probably could.
Okay. If there is demand for it, then maybe
Yeah.
we will.
But people do that, don't they? Because the Sidious dungeon, we have to plug that thing in to let people make the altar work again without actually using the bones. Okay, no. Yes.
Yeah, Mod Acon has an account that's 10 HP.
She's also 99 farming.
Yeah.
And she's very angry she doesn't have a pet right now.
Could we get a notice board on the side of the buildings in Edgeville close to the wilderness ditch? This notice board would state every unique property and interaction that occurs in the wilderness. Things like the teleporting restrictions and what happens to your untradeable items above and below certain wilderness levels.
A notice board that lists some restrictions in the wilderness
Well,
might be
all of
reasonable.
them. Oh, okay.
All of them is
There are so
a whole
many.
big can of worms.
Okay.
There's so many sort of unique and bespoke interactions between items when you die in the wilderness
Right.
that trying to list everything that happens would be a nightmare.
Okay. Fair
And
enough.
I guarantee that something would be missed from it, and we would then have some unhappy players who say, well, your notice board didn't say that I'd lose this particular item if I had it in this level wilderness.
Right. Fair enough.
It's also a question of how much it'll be used, because I think we already have a notice board to do with kills. But I don't think anyone really checks it.
I wonder if we could add it to the original warning box that comes up when you try to enter the wilderness for the first time.
It's going to be a big warning box.
Maybe not as a
Most
list,
people
but
don't
maybe as
even-
like a click through.
Most people don't read that warning box and it says, warning, you will lose your items if you die in this area. Most people still skip through that. Imagine if it's like an essay.
I think what we're describing is the Apple Terms and Conditions update.
Okay. Sounds like maybe we're not keen on that then, or maybe in some form, but we're not sure if it would actually be read.
I don't know how useful the limited form of it that we'd be more likely to offer would really be to players. I think what we'd put on that board is already readily accessible in game through like the items kept on death interface and things like that.
Although I suppose just to play devil's advocate here, I would argue that means opening an interface while you're in the wilderness to check, right?
I mean, you need to open an
I'm checking
interface
what
to read the
items
notice
I'd
board.
die. I'd lose if I die. Or I died and lost those items. I guess I know. You know? But, yeah, I get your point. Okay. So maybe we won't do that one. I'll move on to the chat questions then. If you have any more things you want answered, ping them over to @oldschoolrs in the chat and Modhusky will pick them up for you.
Thanks, Motoski.
Oh, quite a few of them are some of the elves related. So the first one is, are we going to buff the gauntlet loot? While we're at it, can we remove the bad drops from the gauntlet when you fail?
The bad drops.
Well, there's a rotten tomato in there, I think.
that was meant to be.
If we gave him a rotten potato, that would be quite a good one.
Regarding the drop table as a whole, it's something that we'll be keeping an eye on. We're not going to jump straight into just buffing it. We want to actually get the numbers and see how many completions people are getting in an hour, what drops people have been getting from it, and then act a bit more carefully on it than we may have done with some other drop tables in the past. For the bad rewards, there's already one type of reward, which is if you've really done an awful job in the gauntlet, that will just be discarded as soon as you try and go back in. We don't try and make you claim that one because you probably don't want it. The rewards that are a little bit better but not particularly worthwhile, we could do the same for if it's wanted, but you may also want to claim those rewards, possibly.
Yeah, I would argue it's one of those things. I mean, I've seen people saying, "Oh, I'm only getting a few 100k an hour." I think it is more than that. It's 500 to 700 odd. I think, maybe ish. But I would always argue that the price of the big ticket items is going to balance that out, because eventually you'll have less people doing it if they don't think it's worth it, which is ultimately going to decrease the number of these uniques that are in game. So these things tend to, over time, balance out.
It's strange. We often get sort of players requesting drop tables, and I believe this in there was more like God Wars, where you don't make tons of money, but you get the occasional big ticket item. And then when they get a drop table like this, they want more money. It's a difficult one to...
I mean, I think we do have bosses that you can farm, for example. You've got your Zolra and you've got your Vorkath if you want your consistent drops.
Yeah.
Technically, Hesperi is a boss you farm.
Yes. And I think this Gauntlet drop table does tick that box where we've had players saying, you know, can we get more stuff like the God Wars dungeon system? So...
Well, you chose the wrong side. Do you want to offend these people or these people? You chose the wrong one, clearly. Darn you, Modlenny. Grrr. Yeah, it's always a constant balance. It's not fun.
Our next question, next couple questions are also, no, our next 3 questions are also 5 questions are Gauntlet related.
Okay, great.
I don't know if we'll go through them.
It's like counting for
The next person wants to know if we'll post the top 5 completions for each category when the competition ends. Sure, if we have the data for that, which I think we will, we can say how many people are in the top 5 of each. Not a problem. Next person says, both the Corrupted Gauntlet and Challenge Mode raids don't show their kill count on the collection log. Can this be changed?
Depending on how much room I can find on the interface for it. Might be a bit of a squeeze.
Does it only show the regular?
Yes.
Right.
I could show a combined one. That would be easier to fit in the space given.
Is there any unique drops to the Corrupted versus
the Cape, but that's just listed in the regular Gauntlet.
Okay. Can we increase the number of charges of the Blade of Saildor to 5,000? 2,500 runs out quickly.
I looked at that one and we'd got a pretty much whole int to play with.
Yep.
Okay. And maybe that's more of the improvement, well, more of the kind of improvement that we might do for the blade rather than a special attack. For example, if people are saying it is too costly, then okay, maybe we could change that. I don't know about doubling. That seems like quite a drastic change, but maybe a smaller, just to test the waters, increase to the Blade of Saildor's charges.
Yeah, either way, we have a lot of room to play with on that number.
Can we make the interface for the Singing Bowl in the Gauntlet have a fixed position for each item rather than being generated based on inventory space / items which you can make?
I believe we can. It's something that we're going to look at over the coming weeks.
It may even be easier than what you had to do in the first place.
It quite likely is. I believe...
suggested a lot. That's a big one, I think.
I believe when we were discussing it, ModEd pointed out that that's pretty much what the smelting interface does on a furnace. So it's doable in that sense, yeah.
It's pretty standard across the MakeX in the chat box. Partly because it was what we had before for all the MakeX features there, and partly because it didn't seem a bad place to just show what you got and maybe use red text or strike through for the ones that you can't use. I can't remember how many examples there are of that, but probably some.
Can we find out how much gold has been spent on the cosmetic crowns?
Yeah, I don't have a number off the top of my head.
We can find out.
I don't think we know, but we made a point of tracking that to see just how much gold was sunk. So we'll have that with you as soon as we can.
At least 500 mil from the JX team.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mod Curse and Mod Ryu on the day after release. Just went and bought them together.
For people who don't know, you can actually recolour those crowns with the crystals that you buy in the same shop. I know some people are just buying the crown and saying, oh, I wish this would look different or I could customise it in some way. You can.
It can look red, yellow, green, blue, black, purple.
Is that all of the colours?
I'm missing some.
White and...
Brown, maybe?
No.
Pink.
Cyan.
I said blue.
Yeah, there's dark blue and cyan. Amlod is dark blue and Maya is cyan, I believe.
Sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah, so if any of you complete Song of the Elves and happen to have 250 mil just lying around that if you're willing to just drop on a cosmetic helmet, crown, sorry, you can recolor it as well.
Why not?
Yeah.
You can always sell it back for 150 mil and cut your losses.
Saw a rather nice design for crystal coloured graceful on social the other day, since they want to talk about graceful so much.
Yes, I've seen people in chat talking about black graceful. Let's should we talk about that again, just in case people haven't heard us talk about it for a while?
No.
Okay, right. Not going to mention black graceful then. Sorry.
For reasons and things.
Reasons and things.
We've spoken about it like the past 6 Q&As.
I think it's been a few Q&As.
know a dev who's
Very
got
often,
plans
the
for
answer's
that.
always the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Moderi's got a design for it. It looks awesome. We're waiting for content that it would fit before it goes into game.
And I know a dev who's got some content in mind that it would probably fit.
That's what I was hinting about. I don't want to say too much.
All right. Can we add the Dragon Pickaxe to Zulcano? It would fit thematically. Ooh.
This discussion did come up when we were looking at the drop table, and although those of us discussing it weren't particularly fans of the fact that it's exclusively obtainable in the wilderness, we also didn't want to jump to change that fact.
When we've got something that's only in the wilderness, even if it's not the most intuitive place for it to be, we would not be in a hurry to make it stop being like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You see the Dragon Hatchet as a comparison of what can happen if you flood things from very easy method of obtainability like Winter Todd, for example. And I quite like the Dragon Pickaxe. Is it 3 to 6 mil?
Yeah, it got quite a lot more expensive after Mobile came out. Like all the Dragon tools just jumped, like tripled in price.
It's like, let's not ruin its price kind of thing.
Especially with the however many thousands of Zolcanos have been killed over the last week.
The reason I said 3 to 6, by the way, is because I bought mine at 3 mil. I'm very happy to see the chat say it's 7 mil right now. I know what I'm selling tonight.
Stonks.
I think I bought mine at like 1.5, I think.
So, next question is, what's the drop rate of the Sarachnis pet? Monhusky's written down an answer. I'll say it on his behalf because I don't think he's mic'd up. He's going to post the drop rates of all the 4th Hoss uniques tomorrow morning. Well, he says 4th Hoss uniques, is that all of them? Or?
Yeah, on my Twitter. Anything that's new and on the collection log will be added. And probably pages and key chances as well, because why not?
At Jagex Husky.
At Jagex Husky. That's the one. Are we going to see a Prifnus house theme? Is that in the works anywhere?
The thing with house themes is that they are surprisingly expensive to create graphics budget-wise.
Right.
How many pieces are there in a player-owned house wall kit? I want to say...
Not that many, but it's the special versions you need for all the stained glass windows that adds a lot to it. Also custom roofs, which is surprisingly more models than you'd expect from just looking at the things, with the exception of the one flat roof from the Ardoin style kit.
When I say expensive, I don't
Fancy
necessarily
stone,
mean
whatever it's called.
money cost, I mean time cost as well. So
Have to see what else the artist could be doing and whether this is better than that. I don't actually know what their next thing is likely to be, although I know that Mod West has been blitzing through quite a lot of minor live bugs, bits of kit stretching when you do certain animations. He's got through about 12 of those in the last week since he finished making Elf Kit.
We've got another question here, which is, do we have any thoughts on updating the Bounty Hunter shop? The Tier 1 totems have crashed pretty heavily since the Tier 10 emblem update, where we made them tradable.
do you want to talk about...
I'll talk about it briefly. I realise we've only got a minute left. So the Bounty Hunter design is basically there. It's been written up, it's been discussed with a core focus group of bounty hunters.
It's happening.
There's been several iterations. It's now at a point where it's pretty much ready to post and show you guys. I just sent round a draft of it. Was that this morning or yesterday?
I
I think.
say the other day, yeah.
So once everyone on the team is happy with it and it's been edited and such, and there's space in the comm schedule, we'll be posting it, and you guys can have your eyes on it and let us know what you think.
Excellent.
In terms of the Bounty Hunter shop, the rework design has a whole section about the shop and how we can improve it, as well as emblems specifically and how they might work differently. So in terms of the short term, what we could do about emblems, I don't think we can really make any more changes. It would be, I think, silly to maybe back step and make tier 10s untradeable again, or maybe make the ones in between tradable. I don't think that's the way forward either. But do let us know what you think. Maybe we should make some changes in preparation for the rework. Maybe we shouldn't. But yeah, I look forward to getting all of your feedback on it. So one last question then. I'll stick to the Song of the Elves theme. I realise we've just hit the hour. Apparently a few of you guys have been asking this. Does the Zorcano pet rate stay the same regardless of the way that you obtain the MVP drop?
Up until tomorrow's update, just the MVP could obtain it. Nobody else who hit the MVP's drop table was able to. It was just the one person each kill who was able to obtain the pet. As of tomorrow's update, the chance will scale and be available to multiple people.
Will that scale for everyone who's dealing damage to Zorcano?
Not quite everyone. They need to hit a sort of minimum threshold.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Hopefully that answers the question.
Definitely jump back to the beginning of the stream and listen to the stuff that's going to come up this week and next week, especially the change of Song of the Elves this week, including the Gauntlet stuff and Zorcano stuff, which is evidently spelled Z-A-L, not Z-O-L, which I've been spelling it wrong for the last 7 months, it turns out.
Me too.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, a lot of
Zol, so you go to Zol.
I mean, a lot of the people are still calling it a Volcano.
Is that wrong?
Zorcano.
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 Mainly because I got beaten by these guys for saying Volcano to begin with. So, yeah.
All right. Okay, well, I realise we're at time, so that just about wraps things up. Like Modwolf says, go back to the beginning of the stream. If you missed it, we gave you some Song of the Elves stats. We explained the situation with the Gauntlet competition and changes to the Gauntlet and Zorcano. I think that just about does it. I'm going to thank everyone for joining me here on the sofa today, as well as Mod Husky on the chat.
RuneFest stuff. We're still selling tickets.
Yes.
Please
come and see us.
Along. Come see us.
Yep.
We're
and
friendly.
Expect an update on RuneFest merch, including tees and hoodies from us soon.
The pictures in that, yeah.
Oh, we got some good pictures.
Oh, yes.
Me and Ash were modelling the other day. That was fun.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Look forward to seeing
it was like, pretend like you're happy. And it's like, but we are happy. It's like, no, I need fake happiness. You're like, okay.
And on that bombshell, I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Morning.
Hello, Sailor. How are you doing?
Doing good. Can you pass the milk? That's all right, mate.
Of course.
I'm doing great. How'd the Lands Out of Time release go?
Well, the team absolutely nailed it, didn't they? And Song of the Elves, how's that going, dude?
Song of the Elves coming along great. Team's doing a great job. Nearly out. It's going to be the biggest update yet.
Morning, Shawnee. Morning.
I think somebody's been up playing RuneScape all night.
No, I've been up all night planning for the RuneFest meeting this morning. I'll see you guys in there.
Moji, my favourite person in the whole world. You got to help me, all right? I've got a RuneFest meeting in a couple of minutes. I left my notepad at home.
Oh yeah, of course you did.
It's at home. I was just wondering if you had any ideas about RuneFest this year.
Well, it's funny, you should ask.
Ah, great. Okay, fantastic. Okay, hit me.
I thought you left that at home, mate.
Different notepad.
Right, well, so I'm thinking that this year, old school needs its own area.
Oh, yeah, own area.
Seeing as those RuneScape lot are probably going to be using Land Out of Time, I'm thinking, what is cooler than dinosaurs?
Space dinosaurs.
Spaced? No! Dead dinosaurs!
Oh.
Fossil Island!
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, okay, all right. Every corridor on this place looks the exact same.
So I'm thinking we need more JMod meetups.
Sounds good.
Bring back the skill tips with a series of really, really awesome activities.
Players love those.
Yeah, and we need to do massive announcements like bigger, better, stage lights, everything. We could announce that content we've been sitting on, you know the one. And also massive LAN area.
Sounds good.
And we need to celebrate our content creators. And I'm thinking like huge Oscar-style Friday night party.
That's so good. You know, Modshed thought he had it easy last year at the Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra. Forget the Emmys, forget the Tonys. We're gonna go full Oscars, baby. We're gonna turn that dial up to 10. Straight up. Ooh, yes. Mod Mohawk, Papa Dave.
Thank you, darling.
Mate? You ready for this meeting?
Absolutely.
Any ideas?
Of course I do. Roomfest, the highlight of the year. I wouldn't just make it up as I go along.
Could you imagine?
Oh, Shawnee, which room is the Roomfest meeting in?
Sorry guys, it's tomorrow.